How has the world changed for you since the death of George Floyd? I did a video on this a week ago, a lengthy video, about 20 minutes long. But I'm going to come back and reflect on this real quick for my Monday video. For one thing, my YouTube channel started because of George Floyd dying. If George Floyd didn't die, this channel won't be here, I won't be here, period. His death affected me. Initially, I wasn't affected by his death, right? I just looked at it. Police brutality happens every 5 years. It's like one of those full blood moons. It's gonna happen. It happens so often that you become numb to it. I have become numb to it. But what was specifically different about this, I've seen cell phone footage of police brutalizing people of color lots of times. So a lot of people say, oh, we saw it for the first time on video how it was happening. Seen that before. That didn't do it for me. What did me in was the way it affected other people, right? Brooded on George Floyd for a couple of days. I saw social feeds, people, disturbed by what they saw. As a black man in America, is something I'm accustomed to seeing that so much I've become numb to it, right? If Trayvon Martin could get killed, right? And there's a law in place that says killing a 12-year-old kid, walking from the store with candy and soda, Skittles, whatever, and there's a law in place that says killing a 12-year-old kid, regardless of what he did to you as a grown man and you're armed. Killing an unarmed 12-year-old kid. If there's a law in place that says that's okay, right, for a grown armed man to shoot and kill a 12-year-old kid with candy, right, regardless of if he's black or white or Chinese, right? If there's a law in this country that says that's okay, that was the most disturbing thing in my lifetime, in seeing how people of color get affected by the system in this country. If there's a law that says that's okay, and a trial happens, and the law oversees all sense, all emotion, all empathy, right? There's this law. It says it's okay. George Zimmerman, go home, have a good evening, right? Then I've become numb to anything else in this country, right? I could care less. It's my attitude, right? The way George Floyd affected me is the way I saw how it was affecting other people. And I started feeling emotions about it. But what the short broke the camel's back for me is when I saw Candace Owens. She did a lengthy, I think a 12-minute video response to George Floyd. And I caught her video, like the rest of us, at a time when we were lamenting, we're thinking of like, how's this happening? People, we want change. This is not what we want for a society. I'm a new parent of two American black kids, and I'm seeing, discussing it with my coworkers and friends and peers, neighbors, and no one wanted that. Be like, we want change, right? And it was a whisper. I saw Candace Owens' video, and we have a well-groomed, well-spoken black woman, and I'm not sure if it was through Fox News or how I came to see her video, but she was saying George Floyd should not represent black people. He was a common criminal. She had all these facts about this guy. And at the time, I didn't know anything about George Floyd. I didn't know anything about Derek Chauvin. But she was painting a picture. She had a checklist of facts on George Floyd to justify what we all saw. To say, she said it was sad that it happened, but it's how it happens with law when you don't listen to the police officer or whatever, right? And George Floyd, she basically said he deserved to die the way he died, right? Because he was a criminal, he had a long rap sheet, it was bound to happen. He shouldn't represent black people. He shouldn't be what white people, when white people look at black people, they shouldn't see George Floyd. They should see herself. Saw that and I got really angry. And I saw the comments below that where there's a bunch of like scared white people that can't say what she says. And that's how her shit trail is usually scared white people that can't say the things she says. Right? And I was outraged by the following that she got from it, and the comments below that saying, "Oh yeah, well spoken, well said." And look at all the comments in the profile picture, all middle-aged white people, Trump people. And I was like, no, this is not gonna pass with me, right? Right? Some woman from wherever is not gonna say this is okay, right? Because when we have criminals, and if criminals want to be criminals, then they have to deal with the police when the police comes on them. I'm like, no. And that's how this channel started. Since then, the way my life has changed, personally, not looking at my family or anything like that, our life have been the same more or less. It made me realize, and the reason why my life has been the same, we live in a bubble, right? I live in some sort of, it's not a perfect neighborhood where I live in, but it's economically, racially diverse. Also diverse in, you have families, you have people of color with families, white people with families, and you have single young people like moving out of the city, just want to get their first place, and we all mix and talk, and everyone, you know, it's not I'm better than you or anything like that happens. The police in this kind of town, they kind of know where people are, and I've never had a bad encounter with police in my life, especially where I live, right? And I feel like if I lived in a place where I kind of was suspicious of the police, I would move, right? And that's the benefits of someone that, like my family, like we're not wealthy, we're not rich, but we do enough to get out of jams, right? Like if I'm living in a place where the police are like, shit, they're like, you know, mowing down black people left and right for traffic violations, then I'm gonna move, right? And that's my situation. But I know it's not the situation for other black people in this country, and because I live in a bubble, it doesn't prevent me from having empathy towards other people of color, or people in color in general in this country, right? It doesn't happen to me, and that was Candace Owens' argument, right? In a way, me and Candace Owens' lives is probably identical. She's, I think, a child of West Indian immigrants or something like that, and parents came up, did well, whatever, without any social help or anything like that. I think that's her story. I don't know much about her, but I think from what she spits, that's kind of what she always says. Like, my family came to this country, and we did everything we were supposed to do, and we did well for ourselves, and we didn't have to have social services or any of that nonsense, right? My family's exactly the same way, right? My mom was a single parent for a part of my childhood, and a part of her mother being a mother to me and my brother, right? So I've lived in a household where my dad was there, and then I lived in a household without my dad. Economics didn't change for us. We didn't go from rich to poor. Education, access to education, and resources didn't change for us. My dad was or wasn't there. We still had the same level of everything, right? But I know what it's like, right? My life is comfortable now, and I'm comfortable enough to not care, right? Raise my kids in this utopian bubble. So they already go to private schools, and just raise them to be ignorant, and just Amelia Dillon, just focus on yourself. Don't worry about the black people, right? Around our bubble, right? I could raise my kids like that, right? But I tell you what, Candace Owens and all the people that agree with her, my parents raised me a little different, right? And beyond my parents raising me and my grandparents raising me, I've also raised myself, right? I live in a three-dimensional world. I don't live in a two-dimensional or one-dimensional world. I live in a three-dimensional world where I could see in 3D, and I could see, I have depth perception, right? I have peripheral vision, right? So I see things and I absorb it and I think about it. And it creates my character. And the character that, you know, I've always had, but the character that came out when George Floyd died is one that, you know, I want to help other people. I want to, like, do this channel so people know that there is a Candace Owens, there is an Officer Tatum, there is a Ben Shapiro, there is a Donald Trump Jr., and all they spew is hate and facts and this and that. But there's a voice like my voice, right? that speaks from the heart mostly. I know mostly I seem angry, and rightfully so. I think everyone should be angry. I remember I had this teacher once, and he started a lecture asking us one by one, what makes you angry? What makes you angry? And a lot of us in my generation, we couldn't find anything. And the things that made us angry was nonsense. Oh, I hate when I wake up and my iPhone isn't fully charged. I hate when I go to the supermarket and they're out of gluten-free bread. And that's the thing people in my generation in the college classroom was saying that made them angry. And when it came time for me to speak, I couldn't think of a single thing that made me angry. Right? Nothing made me angry. And it always stayed with me. I'm like, what's wrong with that? Right? And after having kids, after growing up in this world, right, and traveling a bit more, this was in high school, traveling a bit more, I saw things, and I realized the thing that made me the most angry on this planet is when I see injustice for other people, right? Injustice for poor people. Injustice for people that are suffering, right? And I've built my business partially on helping inner city kids do well for themselves, because my parents, my grandparents, all educators, and I know education for people without access, without resources, growing up in households without those things, education for those kids is the future. It's not the future for them, but it's also the future for their parents and grandparents and their entire ancestry, right? Education. And I work on that, right? In 2 weeks' time, I have a big course in Brooklyn with junior high school kids, right? To help them prepare for exams for specialized high school, right? About 1,000 kids in Brooklyn. I'm gonna drive down out of my comfort bubble to that neighborhood in Brooklyn to work with those kids, right? Make sure that at least when I leave at the end of the day, I might not get all 1,000 on the same page, but if I get 2 or 3 kids, right, I would have done more to help American people than Donald Trump has done for 4 years, right? And real American people, not rich people that could move and go wherever they want to go. They don't have to stay in America if they don't want to stay in America and pay taxes, right? Help real people that don't have help anywhere else, right? If you can help someone that can help themselves or get help or move, whatever, and they have tons of money and tons of resources, you're not helping anyone, right? Person can help themselves, right? Imagine giving Bill Gates $1, right? Or Jeff Bezos a $10 bill, right? He's gonna look at you like, what am I gonna do with this, right? Right? That's not helping people, right? Right? The rich have enough for themselves already, right? So, and back to the question, George Floyd and how it changed me. So I know it's been a year since I've done programs like these because of the pandemic, and this June program, the first time we'll be back out there, me and my team, working with these kids. Right, and after that, I have a long summer program. It's already set up. Got to get the staff for it, but the beauty of it, I could hire kids from inner city high schools to work on the program and teach them skills to put in a resume for later on in life. And I'm not even a teacher, right? I don't have a teaching degree. This is not something I have to do. I could stay home and play with my own kids, right? But my own kids don't need that kind of help, right? These kids do. And that's what George Floyd has changed in me. I'm more passionate about what I do. I've been doing it for a long time, 20 years. Since I was in high school, I've worked with other kids that needed resources to graduate high school, to do better for themselves, right? I've been doing it for 20 years, right? Right? And that's what I do. And that's what Floyd has put in me. It's made me more passionate. So now when I go in front of a circle or a crowd of 1,000 high school, junior high school, normally we do high school kids, but this is junior high school kids. Because now the push for, that's the weird thing too, right? When I started this, it was high school seniors that needed this help. High school juniors, right? But at the time when we got those kids, there was almost like they weren't in school for the last 12 years. And I used to say to them, yo, you don't know this simple thing? What were you doing for the last 12 years in school? You're a high school senior, right? Education is cumulative. It's not like you don't show up one day and you're a high school senior. So I always used to say, where do these kids come from that they haven't learned simple things? 12 years of, they're probably, I'm hoping they've been in school their entire lives. How could they not know simple things? But now it's so funny that when I started this, it was high school seniors trying to get them into college, right? And at some point, somewhere along the way, the people, the Department of Education, the powers that be, realized it's a little late to help kids like in high school when they're in seniors in high school and already failing all their lives. Why don't we head them off at the pass and try to get them in junior high school? So a lot of my programs this year is younger kids, 5th graders, 8th graders, right? Getting them into specialized high school. That's the Stuyvesants, the Bronx Science, Brooklyn Technical, right? Even scholarships of private parochial schools. So it's so funny how the times have changed and the focus in helping people that need help is improved, right? It's improved. Like when we were doing it 10 years ago, we are like, this is the best we could do. And I even thought that. Naively, I was thinking this is the best we could do. But 2021, we're like, let's go to junior high schools and work with those kids. So they get into good high schools, right? And we don't have to worry about them when they become high school seniors because they're already taken care of, right? And younger brains are more malleable. Younger kids tend to listen to authority or grown-ups a little bit more than high school seniors because 12th graders they have beards and testosterones and estrogen. They think they're adults. But junior high school kids, it's easier to work with them and steer them the right way as best as you can. Like I said, if I Tuesday when I see these kids, thousands of kids, if I at least leave and go home on my drive home and I know at least 5 kids, right, got the lesson, or 5 kids will like change, steer them the right way. Maybe if they didn't meet me or was part of this program, but now they got something from it, right? If I get 5, I'll be happy. I'll sleep well at night, right? And that's what I do, and that's what Floyd has put into me. It's shown me that I can't be a voice on YouTube. I can't go on Fox News and say what I feel and then give factual things about Black Americans and this is where Black Americans should be and there's no white privilege, there's actually Black privilege. I can speak all I want to speak, but Candace Owen, Ben Shapiro, if you don't go to the community and roll up your sleeves and do some shit with people that you guys seem to have issues with and talk about so much, right? So much. Google Candace Owens, Google Ben Shapiro. All they do is talk about Black Americans, Black community, Black this, Black that, right? It's like, and I always use this joke about Ben Shapiro. Like, is there a word for like when you, what's the word? Like when you're addicted to like sex, like, what's the word? Like sex addict or whatever. Is he like a Black person addict or something? He's gonna be very obsessed with speaking about Black people in America, right? I don't know what it is, right? But unless I see that dude, right, or Candace Owens rolling up their sleeves and going to the hood and working with those kids. I'm not even saying like adults, kids, right? Right? Because adults, you could say, you know, but kids, working with those kids, right? I don't have a teaching degree. I don't even get paid for it, right? Compared to my normal, my professional salary for my day job, right? I don't get paid for it, right? But I'm passionate about going in there and helping these kids, right? It's not for me, right? My kids, it's not even for my own kids. My kids are taken care of, right? But it makes me realize this is how I can make the future better for not just this country or this neighborhood or neighborhood, but the world, right? The next Einstein is coming out of that generation. The next Martin Luther Kings, right? That's the future. And if you don't work for that, and that's what the Floyd thing has taught me about too, right? You can dwell in the past, you could wave the Confederate flag all you want and say Blue Lives Matter all you want and counter-protest, people protesting for social justice, all you want, right? But you have to realize the times are changing, right? 50, 60 years ago, I couldn't go to a business and drink from a water fountain. Or I couldn't go in the front door of a diner or a restaurant if it said whites only, right? That was 50 years ago, right? I think it's 50 years ago. Maybe not, like 60 years ago. Times have changed, right?